Okay, so let's unpack this pretty unusual story that recently just exploded across the headlines. When you sent us the sources about Lil Nas X, well, we knew this was exactly the kind of deep dive you'd want us to take. I mean, just imagine waking up one morning to a report that a major celebrity, someone like instantly recognizable, Montero Lamar Hill Lil Nas X, was found walking naked
Oh,
in the street, early hours. It's surprising, almost surreal, right? Definitely grabbed our attention.
oh, indeed. Yeah, the details around this whole thing are quite striking. And there are, a number of compelling elements to consider from the various reports you've provided us with. So we're going to try and piece together a comprehensive timeline from these articles, the official police statements, and there's even the eyewitness video.
Right, the video.
Exactly. So our mission today is really to sift through all these different accounts, not just to figure out what reportedly happened on that, well, chaotic morning in L.A.,
Mhm.
but also to really get a grasp on the nuances.
True.
The whole event led to an arrest, hospitalization. We need to look past just the flashy headlines.
Yeah, dig into the actual factual nuggets that give us maybe a more complete, if complex picture.
Precisely.
Okay, so let's jump right in then. The unfolding incident, the timeline laid out in the reports, because the sequence here feels pretty crucial. It all kicks off really early, Thursday morning, like 6 a.m. local time, Studio City, LA.
That's exactly where it starts, yeah. The initial info we have, it points to the LAPD getting calls about a naked man just walking along Ventura Boulevard. I mean, that detail alone sets a pretty concerning scene, doesn't it?
Oh,
For what quickly became, well, very public and obviously deeply personal for him. And these weren't just like vague reports. They were specific enough that police had to respond immediately. Potential person in distress, public space.
and it wasn't just anonymous calls. Our sources, I think TMZ notably, they actually put out video footage showing him reportedly roaming that street early morning. And the description is, well, just underwear and cowboy boots.
Yeah.
That's a pretty specific, kind of striking image, isn't it? Gives you a really vivid, almost raw snapshot from the sources.
It's an incredibly potent visual. It really brings those reports to life. But what's also really notable from that eyewitness account and the video is his reported demeanor.
Right, how he was acting.
Exactly. The sources describe him speaking incoherently
Hmm.
to the person recording him, on their phone. And that detail feels crucial because it's not just about the state of undress. It strongly suggests, well, disorientation, confusion maybe, significant distress.
Yeah, implies this wasn't just someone making a conscious choice, more like someone potentially in a serious personal crisis.
The incoherence really highlights the chaotic nature of that moment.
Okay, and then the police arrive. And this is where it gets really interesting because the reports start to diverge a bit, which is fascinating for us, right?
Yeah.
Shows the challenges of initial reporting. The police accounts themselves give us slightly different takes on what happened next, the confrontation part. According to one LAPD public information officer, Charles Miller, quote, upon arrival, the suspect charged at officers and was taken into custody. So, boom, immediate aggressive interaction.
Right. But what's truly fascinating here, and this is a critical distinction if you're trying to understand this,
Yeah.
is how the legal charges are initially described.
Okay.
So Officer Miller said he charged at officers, but then a spokesperson for the LAPD told People magazine something slightly different,
Okay.
that the man accused of assault, being nude in the street, then went on to batter an officer, which led to him being booked for battery on a peace officer. That wording suggests, more direct, maybe physical interaction. Definitely escalates things.
Okay, so we have reports of him being taken into custody after charging, and then these more specific allegations of actually battering an officer. But then things take another really crucial turn about his health and ultimately what charge he was actually booked on. He didn't go straight to jail, did he?
No, absolutely not. And this is a really critical step. Shapes our understanding hugely. The sources say he was first taken to a local hospital,
Okay.
reportedly for a possible overdose. Now, that detail provides absolutely crucial context for his behavior, the whole situation's urgency. It kind of shifts the perception, doesn't it? From just like a public disturbance or resisting arrest to something involving a serious medical concern.
Wow, yeah. That tells you medical attention was seen as the priority right then, more than legal processing.
Look,
That's
look.
paramount, like you said, to understanding his state.
Absolutely.
That is a truly significant detail. A suspected medical emergency, possible overdose.
Yeah.
Yeah, it frames the whole thing very differently, underscores the potential vulnerability. So, okay, he gets medical attention at the hospital. Then where?
Then, according to multiple outlets, the Associated Press's one, after the hospital evaluation for that suspected overdose, he was later transferred to a jail in Van Nuys. And this is where the specific booking charge gets highlighted, obstructing an officer.
Which is a misdemeanor. Ah, okay. And this is where those varying reports really come into focus for you, the listener. Because we had those initial mentions, right? Battery on a peace officer, reported by People, citing an LAPD spokesperson. But then other reputable sources, like the AP, saying he was ultimately booked for obstructing an officer. Those are definitely different charges. Can you maybe elaborate on what that distinction actually means here?
Yeah, that's a critical distinction, absolutely essential for this deep dive to get the nuances from the sources. So battery on a peace officer, especially in California, can range, misdemeanor up to a felony, depends on the force used, any injury.
Yeah.
It implies direct physical contact, even minor, with an officer intending to harm or impede them. It's generally viewed pretty seriously. Obstructing an officer, though, that usually describes actions that hinder police work without direct physical harm.
Like refusing commands, maybe? Or blocking their way?
Exactly. Refusing lawful commands, giving false info, physically blocking. It's typically a misdemeanor. So the difference in potential consequences, the severity, what specific actions are alleged, it's significant. And the fact that initial reports varied, battery here, obstruction there, it tells you something, doesn't it, about how fast things were moving, the initial chaos, maybe?
Yeah, how information gets passed along and then refined as things become official.
Precisely. It really highlights why you can't just grab a headline. You got to dig into the specific confirmed booking charges.
That's a really powerful point about how quickly info evolves. You have to stay vigilant about what's confirmed versus initial impressions. Now, shifting gears just a bit, this whole incident, it didn't just happen in a vacuum, right? The sources actually give us some pretty fascinating insight into what Lil Nas X was putting out there, like right before this all went down.
Yeah.
There was specific social media activity leading up to it. Instagram, the day before, Wednesday.
That's an absolute crucial point for context, yeah. The reports mention he made like a slew of Instagram posts on Wednesday. And these weren't just random updates. They paint this, well, fascinating picture. Maybe misleading, who knows, but a picture of his environment, maybe his state of mind, hours before this very public event.
Right. The content. Multiple mirror selfies. Okay.
Yeah.
Pretty standard celeb stuff. But also photos of piles of his belongings and his art. That's not just generic content. It's like a glimpse into his personal space, a sort of curated chaos maybe, showing us bits of his inner world right before things went sideways.
And intriguingly, some posts had music. The sources specified sounded like unreleased Lil Nas X songs.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. So that detail looking back adds another layer. Was he like in a creative high or maybe struggling with pressure about new material? When something like this happens, those digital breadcrumbs, they suddenly feel really significant in hindsight.
Yeah, they become puzzle pieces as everyone tries to figure out the narrative leading up to it all.
Exactly. It shows how that public persona, even in seemingly candid social media, can just contrast so sharply with a very raw, chaotic reality.
So it gives us this small, curated window, glimpses of art, life, new music, but it's also worth noting, the sources point this out. When Yahoo reached out for comment about the incident, his rep didn't immediately respond, which, okay, fairly standard maybe, but leaves a gap from his side.
Well, yeah. And if we connect this to the bigger picture, that combination of erratic behavior reported plus the unusual social media, it often does raise questions. Mental state,
Sure.
external pressures on public figures,
Yeah.
and the lack of immediate comment, like you said, pretty standard. In a crisis, especially for celebs, teams need time, gather facts, assess, figure out a response. Better than just reacting instantly, right?
Sure, makes sense.
It's strategic silence, but it does leave the public and you to kind of interpret the pieces you do have.
It definitely makes you wonder about the immense stress, the pressures celebrities face, especially when personal struggles or health crises play out so incredibly publicly. The social media gives us that little window, maybe poignant looking back, but the incident itself, reported nudity, incoherence, alleged confrontation,
It's stark.
concerning, really underscores how quickly a private struggle can become a global headline.
Indeed. And it powerfully highlights that contrast, right?
Mm-hmm.
Between the often curated public persona, even on social media, and the very raw, chaotic, potentially vulnerable reality that reportedly unfolded on Ventura Boulevard. For public figures, that line between public and private, it's incredibly thin. Incidents like this just show how easily it can get erased.
So what does this all mean when we piece together these accounts for you, our listener? I mean, it's a vivid picture, very public, very concerning incident, but also really complex. We've laid out the timeline, that initial 6 a.m. call, The eyewitness video, him reportedly in underwear, boots, incoherent. Police arrival, the alleged charged officers, and then those critical details. The urgent medical transfer, possible overdose, before finally being booked.
And in pulling this all together, we really have to reiterate, emphasize those different reported charges. Initial mentions of battery on a peace officer versus the ultimate booking for obstructing an officer, the misdemeanor. This is just a minor detail,
Yeah.
It highlights the power and sometimes the challenge of interpreting info from multiple sources, official statements, different news outlets, even different police spokespeople might highlight different aspects. Requires careful aggregation, critical thinking to get that full nuanced picture. It's a powerful lesson in media literacy.
Exactly. For you, the listener, this is super relevant. It shows how fast a story, especially involving a public figure, can just unfold and get reported everywhere. It underscores why it's so important to look at the specific details provided, check sources if you can, understand the context, try not to make snap judgments. Because when you only read a headline, right, you often miss all these layers of complexity that a deeper dive, like this one, can start to uncover. It's about being an informed news consumer in this crazy, fast info world.
And it raises that important question, doesn't it? In this world of fast news, constant updates,
Yeah.
how do we actually process these initial reports effectively? Especially when they involve complex stuff like alleged substance use, potential mental health crises, evolving legal charges. It's not just what is reported, but how it's framed.
Yeah, what details get emphasized.
Exactly, and what broader societal things we can maybe infer. This incident kind of forces us to consider the often invisible battles public figures might be fighting, and just how quickly a personal crisis can turn into a global spectacle.
It's a really powerful reminder that there's always more to an incident than one headline can ever convey. You need to look at the whole narrative from all the sources you can find, and even then realize there are probably still gaps.
Precisely. And here, we also have that context of his social media right before. It's not directly causal, obviously, but it adds another, maybe poignant layer to the story around him. It invites us to reflect on that curated reality versus the private struggles.
So to sum up this deep dive then, we've explored the reported arrest of Lil Nas X, those alarming calls, naked man in the street, the alleged altercation with police, and that crucial detail, suspected overdose, hospitalization, all set against his recent, maybe revealing Instagram activity. Our deep dive helped us move beyond just the headlines, right? To get to the specific factual nuggets from your sources, that 6 a.m. call, the video details, the conflicting initial charge reports and what they mean, and that absolutely critical mention of a suspected overdose.
And as we wrap this up, maybe just consider how much we often infer from pretty limited initial information, and how much is truly unknown without direct comment from the people involved. Even with detailed reports like these, the full human story, someone experiencing a crisis so dramatically, so publicly, it remains largely out of reach. It leaves you with the question, maybe not just what happened, but what deeper, possibly invisible struggles might have led to such a public and, well, chaotic event. And how does that shape how we understand celebrity vulnerability and that relentless media spotlight?